Let's always drink the good stuff.
It's about food, art, travel, music, culture, lifestyle. It's interesting conversations with interesting people. And yes, sometimes it's even about drinking the good stuff. We are really thrilled today to have with us an Armenian playwright, actor, comedian, director, novelist, painter, Vahe Berberian. Vahe, welcome to the show.
Wonderful being here.
Thank you for being here. I'm a big fan. Many fans. So great to have you here. But I just described you as an Armenian playwright, actor, writer, director, novelist, and what have you. Are you an Armenian playwright, or you're a playwright, director, artist, painter who happens to be Armenian?
I happen to be Armenian. Yes, I'm a human being first. Yeah.
And but your Armenianism defines you, your acts, your production, your writings, your paintings.
Absolutely, because you are what you're made of. What defines me. I think it was Borges who said, I am the sum amount of all the books that I have read. And in my case, books have play a very important part in my life. But I also am the sum amount of all the languages that I speak, all the countries that I've lived in, all the people that I have met, and in my being Armenian plays a pivotal role in all of this.
Because we're bringing all the experiences that we're going through into our next project, next book, next writing, next painting.
Well, absolutely, because it gives you a different dimension. I think your racial or national identity is important because it does give you a new dimension, something that most people don't have. The fact that I, as an Armenian, was born in Beirut from parents who came from, one of them was from Agen, who had survived, my father had survived the genocide. Then I lived in a country which was Arabic-speaking country, and I was nurtured by French and European and English music, American films, all kinds of writers, from Czech to, so all these things have played a very important part in my life. But if I wasn't Armenian, I wouldn't be exposed to all of this.
If you were not Armenian, or let's take it even one step further. If you were not born in Lebanon, but still from the same parents, born in the U.S., you would think you would have been you would still be an artist, or you would have been a different type of an artist?
That's that's a tough question. I don't know. Freud says anatomy is destiny. I think it's true, but also where you were born, how tall you are, the color of your skin, everything is destiny. And you never know. You never know. Because there are certain things in your life where if you ask, what if? I've been thinking about this recently. What if I never left Beirut? What if I was born in some other country? What if this? What if that? But we forget that some of the what ifs are almost invisible, non-existent. Meaning, if I was on my way here, what if I got into an accident? These are not perceivable what ifs.
Correct.
It could happen anything, anytime, anywhere. So what ifs are very, very difficult.
Indeed. As someone, I was born in Lebanon as well. So a lot of things, even though I've been living here most of my life, a lot of things I see it through the prism of an Armenian boy growing up
Yeah.
as an adolescent in Lebanon, then coming to the United States.
Absolutely.
That's the prism I see things, I measure against. And so it's an interesting perspective to see that what if question is purely philosophical.
You know, Stepan, I have been thinking about this. A novel, I'm sure I'm not going to write this, but me going back to Beirut and meeting Vahe, who has never left Beirut. It would be an interesting encounter, you know? What happened to him?
Right. Well,
Have you thought about that?
I've seen a movie where I think I forgot the actress's name, where instead of getting on the subway, she doesn't get on the subway. Life
something
changes.
ending. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So that goes to your point. What if Vahe had not left Lebanon, and Vahe who left Lebanon?
Yes.
And how are they different? How are they the same?
Yes.
Where they end up after so many years?
Absolutely. Because
That would be fascinating, Vahe.
Yeah, yeah. I lived in Canada. I lived in Europe for a while in the 70s, 73. And then I went back to Beirut. And the war started. What if I had never gone back? And then I lived in Cyprus for a few months, but decided to go to Canada. I lived a year in Canada. What if I had stayed in Canada?
Right.
You know, all these what ifs.
But it gets tiring after a while. Trying to stipulate, to remember, to visualize, to dream, I suppose, a way, what if.
Right.
I mean, that would be fascinating. It would be very interesting, given what would make it interesting is the mind of the writer. In your case, you, how would you imagine those things would have changed or remained the same had you not taken this step instead of taking this other step?
Right.
It's a fascinating philosophical discussion.
Absolutely.
Something to consider, right?
Yeah.
So how old were you when you came to the U.S.?
I was 20.
Okay.
I think I was 20.
Okay. As a kid growing up in Lebanon, did you know you were funny?
Yes, I knew I was funny, and I tell you why. I was a very fragile kid. I was very thin. Anybody could beat me up. Anybody, you know.
You haven't gained much weight since anyway.
The Middle East is a very tough place when you're, you know, physically you're frail, you know, and they make fun of you. They're, you know, I was very, very thin. And so I realized that my defense was my humor, you know. That the bullies, the toughest kids in my class, they would love to hang out with me because I made them laugh. And so I think that's how I developed my humor. It was a defense mechanism for me. And that's how I knew I was funny, because everybody laughed.
And as a funny kid, did you look up to any artists, any comedians, any actors that you admired?
No. I never thought I would be a comedian, though. I never, ever thought I would do comedy. I loved making people laugh, but my first love was the theater and writing. And and I fell into comedy only because in 96, I had cancer and I almost died. And we had a theater company. I was writing plays, and you know, I was very successful. My plays were being performed in Europe, this, that, and then I almost died, and I fell into stand-up by chance. And I tell you how, if you want.
Please, yeah, of course.
Okay, so for 5 years, I had 14 surgeries within 5 years. It was bladder cancer, and as I said, it almost killed me. And within those 5 years, I couldn't do theater because leading a theater company is like an army, you know. Right. I didn't have the physical ability, the energy. I couldn't paint because at the time I was also painting large canvases and I was doing great. And so one day, I went to the movies with my wife, and we wanted to see something, and it wasn't playing, or it was sold out. And so there was another movie at the time, and we decided, well, let's just go see this. And it was called Swimming to Cambodia.
Okay.
So I had no idea what the film was. We sat down, and it was this guy, Spalding Gray, the actor, talking about his experiences, his life, and what he went through, what he had been through within the past few years, in a movie that he had shot, he had been in, and so on. So after 10 minutes, I realized that the entire movie was this. This guy was going to talk for like an hour and a half, you know, sitting behind the desk with his notes in front of him and a camera in front of him. And he was talking into the camera, looking at his notes sometimes, and just telling stories. And so after the initial disappointment, I got into it. And when it was done, I came out and said, I can do this. You know what? This is going to be my next project because I can sit behind a desk, and I always told stories, and I always made people laugh. And so I'm going to do this. And so this is how it started. And of course, months later, Spalding Gray committed suicide. So, and I was almost suicidal then. Also, I thought, nah, maybe not the suicide. Yeah.
What if you had not seen that movie?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know?
Because in those days, stand-up was not a big thing, you know, and you only watched stand-up late nights,
right.
And you heard them on LPs,
right.
Because they were too risky for
right.
public consumption.
But things happen for a reason.
Absolutely.
That's quite interesting. You cover a lot of areas within the art world, or it's writing, directing, acting, painting, doing long-form monologues. And what do you consider yourself?
A storyteller.
Storyteller.
That's all I am, a storyteller. Because whatever I do, even when I'm painting, and my paintings are, as you know, are very abstract, I'm telling a story. Maybe not as accessible as the other formats, like making movies and, you know, writing novels. But I am a storyteller, and more and more I am beginning to revel in writing novels. I love writing novels, and because that's a very straightforward
Right.
form of telling a good story.
You must enjoy doing these solitary works, whether it's painting, whether it's writing, or standing up by yourself in front of an audience. These are not group effort, with the exception of movies. These are not group effort. You're by yourself. You're in front of the people, in front of the computer, or in front of the canvas. Do you enjoy that process?
I grew up in the theater. I love doing theater, and theater is the closest thing to having a random family, you know, because these people are by chance in your group, and you create such an incredible bond with these people, and I love doing theater. So there's this. I think I've realized that there's this schizophrenic thing in my existence, because I love that that hectic thing of doing plays and working on movies and stuff, but at the same time I love my solitary way of creating a painting, away from the audience. Because here's what it is. I think, and I don't know if it's the case with everyone, there's a certain vanity in art, okay? Because you're painting a painting, and you're saying, "Come and see what I have done. Come and see my painting." You're writing a book, and you're saying, "Here, read this. Read this. This is what I've done." And the ironic thing is that me personally, I'm a very shy person, and I do not enjoy all that attention. But what I aim for is the attention that goes to the work itself. So once I put something out there, I say, "Don't look at me. Don't look at what I've done. Don't look at me." You know.
Well, I mean, I was at your recent show in downtown a couple of weeks ago. We had a huge exhibition. It was very well attended, very well received. You have amazing work there, and so I guess you're deflecting attention from you to your artwork. Is that what it is?
It's not just that. I
It
just
also
don't.
requires some ego, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have the ego to tell people, "I did this. Come and take a look at it, or read this book. Come and see me at a show or the movie." It does require some ego.
It is. It's there is a huge amount of vanity there.
Absolutely.
You know.
I mean, that's why some artists become famous after they die.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's interesting. So you're a storyteller. Let's talk about some of your storytelling. You've done a number of, and many people know you from your long stand-up monologues, or what do you call them? The 1 hour, 1.5 hour shows?
Monologues.
Monologues.
At least they started that way. So
Right. Where you go on, and I got the names here. It's called Naev, Sagain, Yevailan, Dagavin.
right. Yeah.
I've seen. What do you cover in these topics? I don't want to. I want you to tell me, what do you cover in these topics, in these shows?
I cover, I guess, everything that keeps me awake at night, and I try to find humor in the things that keep me awake at night. I tell, first and foremost, I want to entertain.
Sure.
I want to make people laugh. And if I am able to do that by making them think also, then it is what it is. That's what I'm aiming for, and I've been successful. So the idea is that there are a lot of topics that I want to talk about that do keep me awake at night. But at the same time, if I do not find the humor in them, I will never touch them, because I'm not a lecturer. I'm not an orator. I don't want to. I don't want to get up and pompously talk about the things that I know.
But are there certain topics that you do see the humor, but you shy away from them?
No.
No. Okay.
No. No matter how risky they are, at least up until now, I don't know. I do not have sacred cows.
Okay. Okay, I've seen some of this. Anyway, but the question is, what is your process for creating one of these shows?
But because I've been doing this for almost 25 years, 24 years, there's a method to this madness. So I always have a notebook with me, always. I'm always taking notes of the things that I find funny, that the things that happen to me, things that are supply fodder for material, for comedy, and then maybe this happens for 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years sometimes. It all depends on how long my tours are, because once I start and then I start touring, the tours go on for 3 years, 4 years sometimes. within within that time period, I collect enough material to sit down and put it in the computer, and I do that. That's my first editing process. While I copy what I have written longhand from my notebooks into the computer. As I do that, I sort the topics, like this much about, for example, religion. This is about my mother. This much about my about marriage, being in love, this or that. So then I try to create a common thread, something that will connect all these ideas together, you know, because you've seen my shows. It's never random, you know. I don't jump from one thing to another randomly.
Right.
So when I do that, I have a material of 3 hours. I gradually start cutting, but up to 2 hours. And then comes the most crucial part, the last 30 minutes, which is very, very, very difficult to cut because you don't know what's funny, you don't know what's not, you don't know what works, what doesn't work. Sometimes you think something works incredibly well, and then you try it and it doesn't work. Other times, something that you think is gonna bomb, it works incredibly, you know, it comes out to be incredibly funny. So within the first 2 or 3 performances, I am able to calibrate, I'm able to gauge, and then, you know, so I now have an hour and a half. So, but it all depends. If I drink too much on the stage, it goes up to an hour and 45 minutes sometimes. So,
But, you know, Chris Rock talks about the fact that he tests material in small clubs here and there to gauge the audience's reaction and to see if a material he's written is working or not working.
yeah.
You don't test materials at different venues, small venues?
No, I test them on my friends without them knowing,
Okay.
you know, and by now they already know because sometimes I crack a joke and they go, don't do this, you know. So, but I have to tell you, early on, I used to try my material on my friends. I would, you know, collect a bunch of friends, like 15 of them, maybe 12 of them, and I would do the monologue. And it was the worst experience in my life because it never, ever, ever makes things easy. One of them likes something, the other hates it, you know. Everybody has something to say. No one is laughing because you have put them in the position of a critic. So they're watching you like this, you know, with arms crossed, thinking they have to be sublime, they have to have something to say. And that's the most stressful situation to be in. Because I realized, you know, after doing this a few times, I realized that this. Now I don't even try on my wife. I don't even try, especially on my wife. I never do that, you know. So yeah.
Well, speaking of your friends or people you meet, total strangers or people who you know, when people meet you, do they expect you to be funny all the time?
It's funny you say this because I recently was in London and one of my fans had asked the organizing committee to take me around, you know. Really nice guy, sweetheart. So I spent a few hours with him, like a whole day maybe. And then in the afternoon, late in the afternoon, we were having coffee. He goes, Vahe, you know, honestly, you're not very funny in real life. And I said, Alan, you're not paying me. It's exhausting to be funny at all times.
To be on all the time.
To be on, and especially when you're touring, you know.
Right, you gotta
People
preserve
whine
energy.
you, dine you, and then they expect you to be funny and to make them laugh. And it's like,
But there's that people, because all they see on social media or from live shows is the persona you're putting on. And they think you're like that 24/7.
yeah.
And that cannot be.
No, it can't be, because honestly, I'm prone to depression and anxiety. I suffer from severe anxiety, and people don't believe me when I say, like, people ask me, why don't you come and MC this, or like do half an hour of some kind of show, and it's like, we'll pay you good money. It's like, it's not the pay, man. I can't do it. I have anxiety, and the character that you see on that stage is a persona, and it's very close to me, but there is a distance. Somehow I have managed to create that distance and keep it intact. Yeah.
So you prepare yourself mentally every time you're getting on a stage?
Absolutely. Yeah. For a while, drinking was helping. I was almost always tipsy on the stage, and now that I don't drink as much, I'm not allowed to drink as much. It's tougher.
What has been the role of social media in your career and the career of art in general? Because you're very active on social media.
Apparently not as active as my producer, Christina, wants me to be.
Really?
Yeah. She's always telling me, like, why don't you post this? Why don't you post that? Like, I should be posting this. Paul, if you take a picture, I'll post this.
Yes,
to make her happy. Yeah. And I understand because it is what you do, and you need to post constantly, right? Because it's like Descartes, I think, therefore I am. It's like I post, therefore I exist.
Correct.
I comment, therefore I am.
Right. But I mean, I've seen you on, whether on its Reels or on TikTok. That must create a whole new generation of fans that do not know you from Los Angeles or from Lyon or from London, because these are new people who haven't heard of you, but now all of a sudden there's this guy who's funny, who's telling these jokes, and that creates a whole new set of demand for your shows, for your books, for your paintings, for your art form.
Well, what we do usually is post snippets from my monologues. Right. I try not to create new material constantly for social media, because, first of all, it's very time consuming.
Yes, it is.
Also because it's wasted. Stepan, I have a compost in my garden, okay? And whatever is left over, whatever food, I put in that compost. The next day, it's gone, finished. The worms eat it up, like finish it in a few hours.
Right.
Social media is like that compost, You put it out there, and it disappears. The next day, there's nothing left. So a lot of comedians come to me, it's like, I posted this, or have you seen my post? I say, listen, you spent so much time on posting daily, coming up with funny material. In the end, what are you going to do when it's time to create something like a show, like an entire show, You have nothing. or you're going to use material that you've already used and people have seen it.
Right.
So that's why I try to, you know.
But I think you have a big enough repertoire, big enough history of shows that
Yeah,
you
the
can
snippets,
clip
yeah,
between now and next 50 years.
probably.
So you don't need to create, well, others maybe need to create to stay relevant. I
Yeah.
think your past is your relevancy for today,
Yeah.
and for people to see snippets of this, of that show, or that, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I think you have rich enough that you can do
Yeah.
that.
But also, to be honest with you about social media, it has, I have to admit, it has helped as far as visibility goes, because years ago when I started the comedy, and my comedy sometimes offends people, a lot of people, So when I started that, people would come, watch the show, and feel offended, and they would be upset. With social media or with the internet, I should say the internet as a whole, before they come, they already know what to expect because they've seen it. So they either like it or don't like it. So it sifts the audience, and for that I'm okay. I'm very happy with
Well,
that.
it's similar to people going to a restaurant. They always check the menu ahead of time already, so
Right.
they know what they're going to order.
Right.
The same idea.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the fans you're getting now, the new fans you're getting, I've already want to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely.
As opposed, they will not be surprised by something you bring up or a topic you cover.
Absolutely. I remember, for example, in 2001, maybe 2000, I can't remember. I was in Armenia. It was my first show. Man, I was scared shitless because nobody knew about me. Nobody knew about me. There was no internet at the time, or if there was nobody, it wasn't used. So people were sitting, arms crossed, and okay, show us what you got.
Right.
And it was like, fuck, what am I gonna do? There was a cultural barrier already. I wasn't sure the language barrier. So all that. Now I have a huge fan base in Armenia because I know the culture. I know the terminologies, and they have been exposed to Western Armenian also. So
on that point, though, is your material different in Armenia than it is in the U.S.?
it's a little different everywhere.
Okay.
If I am performing in Paris, I use some French words. I use certain things that I know my French public will find it funny,
Right.
or and if I'm doing it in Beirut, for example, Arabic, so yeah, it's almost always a little bit different.
You have to adjust it for your
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah, like Argentina, for example, I had to learn some Spanish words, and yeah.
How is it working in Armenia? And I'm bringing this up because back in 2015 or 16, you did a movie there in Armenia. I think you were acting or directing
Right,
there as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
What was it called? I have the notes here somewhere.
3 weeks in Yerevan.
3 weeks in Yerevan, yes.
Yeah.
How was it working in Armenia? How is it working in Armenia? Whether you production or comedy or exhibitions?
I loved working. The movie experience was fantastic. It was nothing like LA, because here I have nothing against unions, by the way, and I think unions are very, very important. But the fact that there, everybody does everything, and it's like, guys, we have to work until midnight today. Sorry, but like, no, okay, fine, yeah, we'll do it. Some of it was very funny because I was exposed to certain things like that I had no idea what to expect. Like, for example, we were shooting a scene on Northern Avenue.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. It's like the most
Luxurious.
yeah, and we're shooting it, and then some guy is playing the accordion downstairs, in the street, and so the producer goes down. He says, "Can you please, stop playing the accordion? Here's $40. Just go somewhere else."
Play.
Okay. The guy took the $40. Went. The next day, we were somewhere else, and he showed up with his accordion.
He's following. Well, he has to make money from this movie too. That's funny. That's funny. Was it a successful venture, financially speaking?
Financially speaking, I wouldn't say that was very successful, because right when we had the film and we had a deal. So the producer had a deal with Netflix, or we were about to sign when the industry changed completely. Netflix stopped buying films from independent producers, and like within a matter of 3 years, the industry, it became such a strange machinery that but the movie did well in some countries. It did great in Armenia. It did great. We did very well here in Los Angeles. But for example, Russia, we didn't have distribution. Some European countries, we didn't have distribution.
Is it available right now on any streaming services?
No, it was available on Amazon, but not recently. But it will be up again very, very soon. Yeah.
Then you will, because if with the proper marketing, the whole new generation of people will be exposed to it now.
Absolutely.
And to you and to Vahe and the other people.
Yeah. I had a meeting with Vahe yesterday. We talked about this. Yeah.
Good. Vahe's a nice guy. Any other movies you're working on? You thought about maybe?
Yeah, I just finished writing a script for Gor Giragosyan.
Okay.
And we worked together on the script, and it's a hilarious script. And with Chris Bedian, we finished a script that Michael Gurjan is interested in.
Okay.
And so we have our fingers crossed. We'll see what happens.
These are comedies?
They're both comedies, yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Can you tell us about it, or you rather not?
Maybe not.
Okay, I understand. But overall, you like the experience of working in Armenia, and you plan on
Very much.
You plan on any new shows or any new projects in Armenia?
Well, I will be in Armenia this year to perform, and one of the scripts hopefully will be shot in Armenia.
Okay, good.
So yeah,
Wonderful.
So.
How has your comedy changed over time? Or has it?
This is a very, very tough question. It has changed in many different ways. I think one of the things that has changed in my comedy is the language that I use. Early on, it was more of a Western Armenian, very distinctly more Burchamutsi type, Beirutsi type of Armenian, which has changed now into a more generic Armenian because my audience has changed. Okay. And so I have a huge Iranahai, Hayastansi Armenian following. So, and I cherish that. And so, I try to use a language that is understandable to all. My comedy has become darker, much darker. And it has become darker because of the times. It's the sign of the times, you know. Look around you. Everything is pretty shitty these days. And so, yeah. And it has become more edgy. And that's I think it has become edgy because it's a lot raw, and that's because I am more self-confident, because people know me. I have a huge following now, and so that fear of being dejected or the fear of not being understood, you know, is a lot less, and I don't care anymore.
Right. Well, that's the key.
Yeah, I don't care anymore. Yeah, it's strange because, well, I don't know if it's strange, but a lot of my the trollers and the people who really dislike what I do are religious people. And what's funny, what's ironic is that their comments are the vilest, the most disgusting comments that are so far from religion that it's like, what the fuck? What are you, like, do you really think that Jesus would use this kind of language or approve of this language that you're using? You know?
Funny. But do you pay attention to the quote-unquote critics?
Not anymore. Not anymore. I really don't care. Sometimes, every once in a while, one of my sisters calls and is like, "Did you read this?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to. I don't read reviews. I don't read comments. No."
And how has your audience receiving your edgy, darker comedy? How are they receiving it?
It's. I think I have a more intelligent audience.
Is it a narrower audience?
No. It hasn't narrowed down. Strangely enough, it hasn't narrowed it down. It's a wider audience, and I don't know, sometimes I think, do they really get what I'm saying, or do they find it funny because I'm supposed to be funny, and it's
I think
tough.
you may get some of both.
Yeah.
I mean, you know your audience. Some of them are there just to laugh, have a great time.
Yeah.
They don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
While others, I'm sure, are there to think about it, still appreciate the humor,
Yeah.
laugh. But there's I've seen your show. There's a lot of thought that goes into what you're saying. It's not just abstract words. You're not throwing out some words here.
Yeah.
So if you appreciate that kind of critical humor, you're thinking about it, you're reflecting about it, you think about it later, you may discuss it with your friend, you may bring up some humorous points, but there's a thinking behind that thing. But not everybody will do that, correct?
Yeah, because a lot of people, it's very easy for people to misinterpret humor and gear it towards whatever their mental state is. So it's like, you're talking something about Trump, and there might be Trump supporters, and you're making fun of Trump, but they're taking it very seriously. It's like, this is. They think. I don't know.
But I think that's part of where we are society-wise, also societally. That's where we are right now. People have become too divided to one side or the other. So anything, even when you mention the name, some people take offense to that, thinking that something else can be coming in without thinking about it. Whether they appreciate it or not, who cares? It's just part of your humor. and they are there. And I'm sure there are other parts of your humor, your presentation that they will appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes it's just humor, man. It's
Right.
just it's just funny. You take it as it is. Like for example, I posted something a while back when Trump there was an attempt against Trump,
Right,
right?
okay.
And I said someone saw the shooter and yelled, "Donald Duck," okay, meaning Donald Duck, okay. Man, the amount of hate I get.
That is funny,
It's
though.
fucking unbelievable. It was a joke. It was like,
That's funny. You know what? Not everybody has the same sense of humor. To the same question directed to your art, how has your drawings or paintings changed over time?
This is exactly the opposite of my comedy.
Okay.
My paintings have become more vibrant and more colorful. I don't know how long that will last, but I was at a point
You're
where
going through phases, I guess.
Yeah. I was at a minimalist phase in my minimalist phase for a long time. I almost killed every color, the white. I was in love with the white, and for me, white is very, very, very important. I have musician friends that we talk and we exchange notes sometimes. And one of my good friends is Ennio Morricone's son,
Okay.
Andrea, and who's also a composer.
His father has written all the spaghetti western
Right.
music.
They have a collection of my works, and
okay.
so Andrea was telling me, why white? You use white all the time, and I said, Andrea, white for me is like silence for you. When there is silence, any sound that you make, it resonates. You hear it. In white, anything, any minor, you etch something, you put a color, and it's there. It has a significance. When there's too much noise, when everybody's playing something, the subtleties of music is gone. It's the same with painting. Like you put. I believe that painters are like cats, little cats. When a cat is newborn cat or a few months old,
yeah.
anything you give, they will eat. Anything, they're hungry, they want to eat. Painters are like that. Any color they want to use, they want to show off. They're like, I can do that. I have this too. I have purple. I have green. I have this. I have that. Once the cat gets older, knows what he wants to eat. It's like, that's it. Don't give me anything else. I want Friskies, or I want Fancy
mignon.
Feast, or this is it. This is all I want. Okay. And it's the same with painting.
But they develop character, like, just like people.
Yeah. Now I go to a art store, and all I buy is like five colors. That's it. I can mix and match and whatever,
Right.
but 5 is enough, more than enough for me.
And years ago, I remember seeing one of your plays. It was a rather heavy, serious topic about it. I don't remember the name. It was a father and a daughter. I think the daughter becomes pregnant or something.
Oh, Gyank. You saw Gyank.
Was it Gyank?
The father was in coma.
Yeah, it was a really heavy topic, heavy subject. It was, I thought. It was at a play in Sherman Oaks. I was playing.
Oh, that's Baron Garbis.
Years ago it was.
Yes, the father who's going through dementia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has your writing changed as well? You're writing comedy, obviously. It's quite different.
Yeah.
How has that changed? Has that evolved or changed as well over time?
Yeah.
It has.
Well, now my novels are very serious,
Okay.
very, very serious. I recently wrote 2 plays, and the first one, we had a reading in my theater company, and after the reading, no one spoke for like 5 minutes,
Wow. Okay.
and I realized that this isn't going to be staged because everybody was depressed. Everybody was depressed. And I said, I guess we're not doing this. They go, no, we're not.
So what do you do with all that work you put into it?
I hope that one day when the climate changes and
So
people
you
are
don't
happy,
rewrite it? You don't change the plot or anything?
No.
Okay.
I hope that one day when people are happier, I'm able to
Depress them.
depress them.
Nobody needs to be happy.
Yeah, but not now. They're depressed already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is the Armenian art scene in Los Angeles? Art appreciation, art support for the arts, whether it's exhibitions like you, or theater, or music.
I don't know. I honestly don't know because things are happening, but there is the scene itself is very haphazardly put together. I mean, there is no movement of any sort, you know. But then again, that's the same everywhere these days, you know. Everything is disjointed. Gone are the times where there were art movements where people got together and wrote manifestos and said, we believe in this, or we want to change this, or we want to, or we as a group. There is no such thing like that anymore. So you have artists who are struggling. Almost everyone is struggling as far as art goes, especially within the past 10 years, because the art market, what happened with the art market was about 20 years ago with the Silicon Valley, there was a lot of money. Young people had a lot of money. And this was new money. It used to be that art was purchased, collected by more sophisticated people. Old money, they knew art, they were exposed to art, and so on. Then, when 24-year-old, kid has become a millionaire overnight, all he knows is Superman and Batman and whatever he grew up with. That's what they want to buy, and they spent maybe $100,000 on pop art, on a painting of some artist, of some actor or whatever. So that finesse is gone.
The sophistication?
The sophistication is gone. Everything is pop art now. Everything. Yeah. Music, again, has changed immensely. With Spotify, with AI. I mean, AI, people are doing crazy things with AI. And even with the writing,
Are you using AI?
I try not to use much, but I use it for proofreading, and it does a good job. Mm-hmm. But you have to be very careful because as a writer, you don't want AI to mess with your work. So because when I started using it, it's like all of a sudden it's giving me something that's like, oh, it's not me. It's not like,
it can be good, but it's not you.
Yeah. So you have to be very didactic. You have to say, do not touch anything. All you need to do is, fix the punctuation. So.
But I think over time the system will learn
Yeah.
one's style.
Yeah.
So, and makes the changes according to
Yeah.
what they've learned over time.
Right. Right.
That helps it.
Yeah.
It's interesting how AI is going to change writing, it's going to change painting, it's going to change music,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
going to change a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of what make sure that you're getting what the artist envisioned.
There's one thing with AI that I still do not know. So one of the most important things in art is mistakes, the mistakes that you make, you know? Like you do something by mistake, some paint spills in, you know. In music, you play a wrong note, you know. And I was talking about this to a friend of mine who's a musician, and I was saying that in art, it's like you make the first mistake, and then you make the second mistake, and then the third mistake, and then by the time you make enough mistakes, he's like, this is interesting. And he said, you know what? It's funny because in jazz we say jazz is a series of miraculous recoveries. You know. So it's
But you're not going to see that imperfection in AI.
Is it possible for AI to make mistakes? I don't know. It will simulate mistakes.
Right.
I don't know. I still don't know. Yeah.
Are you involved in music?
I was telling Paul, I'm a frustrated musician. I've always wanted to play, but recently, like years ago, I discovered the oud.
Okay.
And I used to play the guitar and the flute. I quit, and then after finding the oud, I fell in love with it. But my shoulder is so messed up with years and years of painting that after playing 10 minutes,
Pain gets it.
yeah. So now I do not play the oud, I play with the oud.
Very good. All right. Listen, this was really wonderful. I'm glad you came. Thank you very much. I'm a big fan, and I appreciate what you do. Keep us posted on what you're doing, and we'll talk again. And remember, always drink the good stuff. Cheers, everybody.